back. We're jumping into another mini Schnauzer here. This guy is a $3 entry, 37,200 entrants, 100K prize pool, 10K to first. I think it's a 20 entry max. That being said, yesterday we got the 3 spot, and I said, great, we get to take Jamar Chase. We haven't done that in a while. And Jamar Chase went at 2, and we started with Bijan. And I think we built a pretty decent squad, following up with Love, etc. I'm happy to be in the 3 because I want more practice from drafting at this side of the board. I've said in the last couple of videos, I tend to be more confident in my roster construction and in my player distribution when I'm drafting at the back end of the board. And there may be a variety of reasons for that. But that being said, I'm very happy to get more reps at this end of the board and kind of figure out what makes a team feel better from a balance and draft construction. Now, one of the things I identified in the last video was at this end of the board, there's a strong incentive multiple times to take one of the blue chip tight ends, and I'm putting Colston Loveland in that blue chip discussion, whether it be Bowers falling, McBride at the beginning of the 3rd, or Colston Loveland at the end of the 4th. They all can be there. And it's really hard to click in some of the wide receiver threats here, and definitely some of the running back threats over a Trey McBride when you just look at the production from last year, and even with the regression that may be in store for him or the sort of state of that offense, it's just hard to say, yeah, I'm going to bet on Breece Hall over Trey McBride at the beginning of the 2nd. Same thing happens here with Loveland in the 4th. And because of that, what ends up happening is my construction through 6, where I tend to look for one of the marquee quarterbacks, feels unbalanced. So I'm not saying we're going to ignore tight end here in 2, 3, 4, but I'm certainly not going to prioritize taking a tight end in these rounds, and I want to see what kind of balance we can achieve positionally before we get to that round 6 run on quarterbacks that, kind of goes from like Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Jackson somewhere at the start of it, down through like Jalen Hurts and Caleb Williams. Because I do like taking one of those guys in the 6th. But again, when you've already grabbed a blue chip tight end and then you're spending draft capital in the 6th round on a quarterback, you're behind at either wide receiver or running back. And in this year's draft format, especially on Underdog, you don't want to be behind at running back. And you can't really afford in these drafts to be behind at wide receiver either, because these are start 3 wides. So, when you need 3 wideouts starting week to week, you really want to make sure you have a set of them, at least 3 of them, that you're happy to be starting week to week, and then have those fill-in players. If you only get 2, or you have an anchor, you want to then make sure you have 5 of the same guy, which you guys have seen me do. When I say 5 of the same guy, it's like guys that are relatively flat in tier from week to week. So, all right, so the first round goes pretty much as expected. I guess Cook in the 2nd round is a little weird, but Cook Barkley is pretty common down here, so it doesn't matter what order they go in. Chase Brown starts making our way back here. If you guys have watched enough of these or you participated in enough of these, we're about to see the Great Wall running backs, Hampton, Achane, Henry, all these guys kind of fly off the board here. And then, we'll kind of see what happens when it gets back to us. I haven't been fading, but I've been underdrafting Nico Collins and George Pickens, and I kind of tend to prefer Rashee Rice's upside in that capacity. So we'll kind of see who makes it back to us. But I think maybe going wide receiver here at 22 and then hoping that Jeremiah Love falls to us at 27 could be the right way to do this from a balance perspective. And then, we snap off a running back and wide receiver in rounds 4 and 5 and feel really good about our balance, right? So Bowers goes to the Njigba player, McCaffrey, Henry. Taylor player is on the clock. So we'll be looking at A.J. Brown, Drake London, Nico Collins, George Pickens, or Rashee Rice. Again, I've been pulling Rashee Rice up over these guys. And I think one of these drafts yesterday, I snapped in Malik Neighbors here in the 2nd round, which I'm going to start doing a lot more of, just considering how high the upside on Malik Neighbors actually is. And maybe Malik Neighbors could be a candidate to pick up in the 3rd round as well. Well, in this instance, though, Drake London falls to us, and I'm not going to pass Drake London here. I actually feel great that Drake London made it back to us. Jamar Chase, Drake London is a heck of a start. Anywhere we go in 3 here, I'm going to feel really good with this pair of receivers on a week-to-week basis. And, down here at the end of the four, beginning of the five, we're going to be looking at a nice set of running backs as well. So if Jeremiah Love gets sniped here, it's all good. And this is what I was saying about Trey McBride. I'm going to take Love. I'm going to take Jeremiah Love here. But Devontae Smith, Chris Olave, Zay Flowers, these guys are all great. They're great wide receivers. But Trey McBride is insane. Like, the guy is insane. And because of that, it's so hard to say, yeah, give me Zay Flowers over Trey McBride. Or at least that's my bent, which is why I tend to take those folks in this range and wind up with constructions that I feel like are just a little bit wonky. And when you need to start three wide receivers, it really does put the onus on you to get a really nice set of them. And that's the problem or the challenge with these drafts is it's hard when you're taking tight ends here. Interestingly enough, Trey McBride goes right by us. Like, right by us, and he doesn't go off the board until, wow, pick 31. That's about as late as I see him go. That's a great value, the McCaffrey Henry player. We could have stuck McBride in here and gone running back. I suppose that would have been a way to do it. But I think I'm going to be happier with my construction here. We're at least going to look to pick up one running back in the 46-51 range. It'll be Cam Stadaboo, David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, and potentially another wide receiver as well, and be happy with our trio of wide receivers plus our duo of running backs. So McBride comes up, but besides that, McBride falls down. Besides that, everything in this lobby seems pretty chalky so far. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. Nobody is crazy unbalanced. Even the Nakua Rice Smith player here, that's a completely acceptable way to start in a half PPR format where you start three wide receivers. So, if they double tap running back here at 45 and 52, they're completely caught up and their roster looks great. So Jefferson Brown opts to ping Allen in here. It's pretty good little trio of players here. Saquon Barkley Cook goes with Higgins. Probably goes wide receiver again here. Unless they look to pull up like Javonte Williams, which I'm super high on Javonte Williams. You guys know that. I have Williams ahead of Love and Hall. I've got Williams as the highest ranked running back in my brain after Henry. Yeah, they do Williams there. It's because of the offense he's in. It's because of the consistency that he showed last year when he was playing, and it's because of kind of the offense that I perceive Hall and Love to exist in being really suboptimal. And then Kyron Williams, it's not that I think he's going to fall off. I just think that they're going to balance even more into Corum this year. And this is best ball, so you don't have to figure out which one you're starting week to week, but I really don't want to stick both of them on my team. I don't want, when that attack is going to lean so heavily into the air and Nakua and Adams and those guys are going to get fed well, it's hard to say, yeah, give me both of the Rams running backs. That kind of feels weird. So we'll see. Lamb, Hampton, and Buka McMillan. I like that four stack. That looks good. The Jefferson players going anchor wide receiver here. Gets Brown, ETN, and Allen, which is a good set of running backs. I really do think you need at least two running backs through four. I think that's pretty much a non-negotiable in this format. If you don't get two running backs through four and you only get one, you do feel kind of behind. You have to then go into triage mode later and just hammer running back in this range, which you can do. There are a smattering of guys that can catch you up if you're going to go with an anchor RB, which I think is a little bit easier to do with Gibbs and Robinson, and then just smash wide out and catch up later. Even though I'm not particularly good at it, people pull it off. Sad to see Cam Stadaboo go, but candidly, I have so much of him in my portfolio that, something's got to give. Okay, and I'm actually happy to see Loveland go because secretly, I just didn't want to go down that road. I kind of wanted to be in this range where we can pick up a wide receiver and a running back and kind of go from there. We're on the clock. I'm actually going to click in Mike Evans ahead of McLaurin because of the news coming out of San Francisco about Pearsall. Kind of looking at maybe not being ready to go this season. He's got swelling in his knee. That cannot catch a break. It's ridiculous. But I'm going to click in Mike Evans. I like Brock Purdy as well later, so we'll look for that. And then I should get a Montgomery, Swift, Henderson, Tootin, Judkins here on the turnaround. Feel pretty good about pairing them up with Love. Now, when we start with Jeremiah Love, again, there could be a committee situation up there. I'm pretty happy to look at Tyler Algier later and get 2/3 of that backfield. Obviously, James Conner's in the mix as well. Bashal Tootin goes. That's great. We're going to pick up DeAndre Swift. Happy to have him here. And yes, okay. Jamar Chase, Drake London, Jeremiah Love, Mike Evans, DeAndre Swift. We did it. I am very happy through five. We have a nice balanced team. We can grab a premium quarterback here. If Joe Burrow falls to us, we'll obviously take him. We can also look for Purdy at ADP, which he's at 96, and we're going to be drafting at 94. So, if we can get a Burrow and a Purdy, I'll be happy to take both. With Evans, London, and Chase, I'll probably look to snap off Burrow here at 70. If we don't get Burrow, I'm still interested in that range of quarterbacks. Like Jalen Hurts or Caleb Williams are fine unstacked. Hurts, we can look to maybe backstack with Lemon if that becomes a possibility. I also like Pollard and Warren in this range. So we'll have a nice selection of a couple of players that'll continue to balance out our roster. So feeling really good about our construction through five. Feeling really good. I also like both of their construction through five. I'm not high on Hall, but Gibbs, Hall, Montgomery with Nico Collins and Devontae Adams feels pretty good, and Robinson and Tootin with Pickens, Neighbors, and McLaurin feels pretty good as well. And yeah, Neighbors is skyrocketing up boards now that he's projecting to play. So he was just a couple of weeks ago. Neighbors was floating around at the beginning, middle of the fourth, and now he's going at the beginning of the third, and I've seen him go in the second so far. So Jefferson, Chase Brown, Josh Allen, ETN scoops up Roma Dunze here. Pretty good follow up. Brian Thomas goes at the turn. Yeah, it looks like so far everybody's obeying the rules of ADP for the most part, right? Neighbors going a little higher, but Neighbors ADP is going to settle up now. All right, I say that, and then the Allen player goes with Jackson. I understand the concept. The 11 drafter said, I'm going to get the two best quarterbacks off the board, and I'm only going to draft those two, most likely. I understand that concept 100%. It's just hard because you can only start one of these guys. We're not in a super flex format, so you're going to have so many dead points sitting on your bench as opposed to what you could have picked up value wise here, which you know, you still have some good running backs and receivers. But this is what I said, I think, in yesterday's video and just in general. It is so hard to click in a Marvin Harrison or a Parker Washington or one of these guys when you're looking at Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Caleb Williams, and, I mean, shoot, I'm higher on Burrow gets sniped from us. Burrow goes to the Brown Moore player. I guess Drake may not snipe from them. Um, do we want to pick up Caleb Williams here versus a Tony Pollard and then maybe deal with a Prescott on the turn? You know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to snap Tony Pollard here to pair him up with our two other running backs. And then if Caleb goes, I'm okay actually pulling Dak Prescott up or Justin Herbert for that matter. I'll probably slint on Prescott, but the Pickens player to our left probably will grab Prescott here. I have to imagine that's their priority. Um, Collins, Adams, Harrison really doesn't have a priority. CJ Stroud and um, Matt Stafford are later, so we'll see. Yeah, they go for Dak Prescott. So we could pull up Herbert if we wanted, but I mean, Williams makes it back to us, and I just think that's an easy snap off there. We don't have any real backstacking options as a Dunze, Burden, and Colston all go earlier, but we do have like a half stack, if you will, with DeAndre Swift. So I'm kind of happy to have that. And so far, the team is looking solid. Caleb Williams, Jeremiah Love, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard, Jamar Chase, Drake London, Mike Evans. I don't think I could be happier through seven from this position. Feeling really good about it. Yeah, feeling good. 94, 99, we're going to look to maybe pick up Brock Purdy here. Obviously, we're probably not going to look to pick up Parasol, but we should have some good value. Obviously, we're going to throw Purdy in there, but we should have some good value. I like Wilson. I like Dobbins. I like Pittman. Again, Parasol's going to start. He's already falling. Parasol's going to start falling down boards. And, the news that he got about the swelling in his knee and maybe not being able to perform. It's just, man, that guy has just been hampered by injury and unfortunate circumstance the entirety of his career, and it just doesn't look to be getting any better. So, I also don't want to get too overweight on any teams. And Kittle could be a tight end we look for later. Where's Kittle go? Kittle goes at 114. right now and will be 118. So I don't know that I'll pull Kittle up to 99, but if he fell down to 118, if we pick up Purdy here, I could be in the market for that. And after we go Love, Swift, Pollard, probably aiming to pick up our fourth receiver at 99. I do like Dobbins. So, if we pick him up, we're probably done at running back until the end. But I think we do want to pick up a fourth receiver. If we can get our hands on a Worthy, a Wilson, Pittman, even a Jacoby Myers, I think that's to be considered because I think the tier break after Jacoby Myers, I mean, you can be high on Golden this year, but I still think there's a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. And that tier break after Jacoby Myers is pretty significant. You move into Golden, Wandell Robinson, Dobbs, Concepcion territory. We might be able to pull Concepcion back. I see him. Concepcion's been falling quite a bit down boards, and we have him right at ADP here, so we'll see how we go. All right. The Genty Walker, McConkey, Burden, Tate player who also grabbed Warren picks up Herbert. So they get their guy here, which is pretty good with McConkey. Daniels is naked unstacked. Drake May is naked unstacked. The sixth drafter here still does not have a quarterback, which that's fine. I mean, you can do this. I just think you probably want to not do that. The Brian Thomas drafter picks up Trevor Lawrence. So that's pretty good. They've got a pretty good squad over here. I like their wide receiver value that they scored after going Barkley, Cook, and Williams through four. I think they've done a good job of catching up. That's kind of what you have to do, right? Sutton, Tyson, Thomas, and Higgins feel pretty good as a wide receiver room. They're not blue chip like ours, but they're solid. And obviously their running back room is a lot more solid than ours. So all right, we're coming up on 94. It doesn't look like Purdy is off the board just yet, and we still have Mahomes on the board. So hopefully we get Purdy here. The Hurts player has their option. They can draft Mahomes or they could draft Purdy. They do have Rashi Rice though, so you'd think that they'd be inclined to take um, Patrick Mahomes here, or they might get greedy and punt on him. I don't know. I'm gonna feel really good. Oh, they got greedy. So let's see what happens. But I'm gonna feel really good about clicking Brock Purdy here, and then Worthy, Wilson, Dobbins, or Pittman are all kind of my targets here on the turnaround. Laporta's of interest too. If we did that, we could set ourselves up for Jared Goff later. Um, but I'm okay with maybe our third quarterback being further down the board. So I actually am super inclined to take J.K. Dobbins. But again, given that we don't want to move into that next round of receivers, oh man, I was going to say I'm going to grab Pittman here. Man. All right, I actually am going to click in Dobbins. I don't know if this is correct. I don't know if you're supposed to go your fourth running back before your fourth receiver in a format like this. We're only going to go five running backs, so having J.K. Dobbins as our fourth makes me feel a heck of a lot better. I just think the backfield's his if he can stay healthy. So because of that, I'm going to click him in. We're going to punt wide running back till the end. Maybe we'll look to pick up a Tyler Algier later. And then what we'll do here now is just hammer wide receiver as the day is long. Now, when it gets back to us on this turn back here at 118, 123. Concepcion's going to be down there. And then maybe a Jaden Higgins. Like, that's kind of what we're looking at here. It's not great. Maybe a Romeo Dobbs, if we're lucky, falls to us. Would definitely like that. Maybe a Wandell falls to us. Would definitely like that. Maybe it was right to take one of the wide receivers there, and then just instead of getting a Dobbins, we pick up an Aaron Jones or a Krusty Merritt or maybe a Jordan Mason Falls. I don't know. But remember, we did start Jamar Chase, Drake London, Mike Evans. So we have three blue chip pieces on three different bye weeks. So now that we're going to hammer wide receiver forever, I still feel okay, right? And we're going to find value later between, McMillan, Naylor, Tucker. We'll find a bunch of them. We're probably going to go seven receivers, and we're definitely going to go three tight ends. Now, as far as tight end goes, Kittle is here. If we go Kittle, though, we only get one wide receiver. So I do kind of want the top end of this range. Look at Parasol just falling down the board, just falling, 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 falling. It's gonna happen. I mean, they don't. I don't even know he's gonna play. So, but anyway, all that to say, I kind of would prefer Robinson or Dobbs or Concepcion over Higgins. So what I'll look to do maybe is say, hey, I'm taking one of these wide receivers. If Kittle makes it around to us, great. If he doesn't, okay, no big deal. Prefer to get my fourth wide receiver as a guy I like over necessarily Kittle. So we'll see. Still some good quarterback value on the board. Rashad White and Jordan Mason are floating around, which are great. And I think that's maybe part of the reason that drafting at this end of the board seems, I don't want to say easier, but seems better, is the way the ADP lines up. There are some really good high end, reliable threats that float around on this side of the board. Whether it be Jordan Mason and Rashad White or Kenny Gainwell or Dowdle, like they're all sitting on this side of the board. Godwin, Addison. Well, Addison made it all the way down here. In fact, honestly, if Addison had made it to us, that might have been a priority. But Sutton sits on this side of the board. All right, so Sutton player does with Pearsall, but this guy can afford to float him. They've got Higgins, Thomas, Tyson, Sutton, Pearsall, Myers, so they can afford to float Pearsall for a while. But there's just so much value that tends to float around this end of the board. I think that's why the constructions feel a little wonky sometimes. So Wandell Robinson, I really hope makes it to us. I think he's going to have a big year in the slot there in Tennessee. If he doesn't, yeah, I was going to say if he doesn't, I guess I'll snap off George Kittle and be okay with it. Probably Stafford is. Whoa, wait a minute. The Stafford player. Oh, okay. They went with Mahomes and stacked Kelsey. That makes sense. So they've got Hurts stacked with Devontae Smith, and they've got Mahomes stacked with Rashi Rice. So they've got a double stack there. Obviously, we don't have Williams stacked with anybody, but we do have Purdy stacked with Mike Evans, which is pretty good. I guess we could look at Tua late in the last round. Maybe we'll do that. We did that yesterday. All right, Kittle goes after Wandell. I'm not super sad about it. We could look at one of the tight ends here. I don't love Jaden Higgins. I think he's just okay. I think Isaiah Likely's in for a really big year, so I think I'm probably going to click in Isaiah Likely here. I think I want him as one of my tight ends. I know he's on stat, but that's fine. And then we definitely need to prioritize wide receiver in 142, 147. If we look in that range of players, you'll have Travis Hunter, Omar Cooper, Jalen McMillan, Jalen Naylor, Juwan Jennings, Trey Tucker, Denzel Lawson. And I'm gonna, or it's actually honestly, let's pull up Stribling. When we get down there, let's pull him up, especially in the absence of Parasol. Stribling could be starting in that lineup, so let's look to pull him up. I didn't think about that till we got down there. So we'll grab Stribling plus another wide receiver, unless somebody pulls the trigger on Stribling super early, which you'd have to pull him way, way up. I don't know. And Jalen McMillan is the other highest ranked sort of guy I have back there. Stribling's ADP is 157, so I mean he's going, you know, down at this end of the board, but he's going to go a whole round plus later, probably at ADP. Then we can get him. So we should be able to get him here. There's also some decent tight end value in this range between Brenton Strange, Hunter Henry, Aronde Gatson. There's like Juwan Johnson. There's some really good tight end value, and I think sometimes these tight ends are more valuable than the other positional players there. Again, given that we have Jeremiah Love, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard, J.K. Dobbins, I'm okay punting on running back for another set of rounds, and then I think I am okay with potentially just stacking um, Tua at the end of the draft. Honestly, the other thing we could do is look to just stick Mac Jones in. So in the last two rounds, go Tua, Mac Jones. Yeah, we'd be on four quarterbacks, and I don't think you really want to do that as a general rule. But Mac Jones is great. When he filled in for Purdy last year, he did a heck of a job. And then we just made sure we have the offense. We made sure we have the San Francisco offense. So we'll see. Feeling pretty good about our position so far. This may be one of the better rosters I've navigated out of the three spot. We haven't drafted a ton from the three in the last couple of weeks, so it's good to get reps up here. And I do like the only click I'm questioning right now is Dobbins. Should I have taken a Worthy or a Golden here over Dobbins and then taken like a Chris Rodriguez or somebody down here, or even a Woody Marks? It doesn't really matter here. And would I like that better? Would I like having another wide receiver of that ilk in this range? Probably, honestly, probably. Because remember, you got to start three. So, all right, looks like we're going to be able to snap off Jalen McMillan here, and I'm going to, and then hope that Stribling makes it around to me. Because again, he's way down there, and you got Juwan Jennings and Trey Tucker and Naylor above him, and hopefully there's nobody who is prioritizing Stribling on the turn. Yeah, we did fall after going insanity here with Chase London Evans. We fell behind. But if we can pick up McMillan and get Stribling here on the turn, I'm going to feel way better about what's going on with our room. Yeah, I do like the Gatson, Strange, Hunter, Henry range of players. I think that they're great tight ends for a tight end trio that you're looking to assemble. But then Stribling's a very valuable asset, and we're going to pull him up and absolutely just snap him off here. So now we're sitting on 6 wide receivers. We're double stacked with Purdy. Stribling could be a starter. He's looking like it in camp right now. Our bye week distribution is great. Our bye week distribution here is pretty good too. Feeling really good. Feeling really good about the construction and balance of this team. Probably look in this range here at 166, 171 to grab more another tight end. I like the Dalton Schultzes of the world. T.J. Hopkins is okay, I suppose. Uh, if Sadiq falls to us or Jawan Johnson, I think I'd be interested in both of them as well. I think, they've got legs. Algiers in that range as well, so we could also look to pick him up. And I don't necessarily want to prioritize any of the wide receivers here, and I'm feeling much better about what our wide receiver room looks like with Chase, London, Evans, Wandell, McMillan, Stribling, and I think we're going to go 7 wide receivers, so we only need one more. So we'll probably look to grab um, at least one of these tight ends. The other thing we can look to do is potentially grab Aaron Rodgers and Fryermuth later. That is an option if we didn't want to get involved in that Tua sort of nonsense at the end, and maybe that's the right move. So we'll see how we go. But it's nice to be in a position where we know we only need one more wide receiver. We could go 8, but we'll probably only go one more. We only need one more running back. We only need one more quarterback, and we know we need to grab tight ends, and we're going to have good tight end value, most likely good tight end value sitting there for us at the end here, end of the 14th round. So feeling pretty good about the work so far. This player right here, Smith and Jigba, Bowers, Olave, Statabu, Judkins, Parker Washington, Stevenson, Downs, Worthy, Crosty, Merritt. Then goes Shug, Darnold, Jones. I don't hate it. Shug is stacked with Olave. Darnold is stacked with Njigba. And Daniel Jones is stacked with Josh Downs. So they have 3 stacks in their offense. And yeah, their quarterbacks are weak, but they're really not. You only need one of those guys to show up each week. And since you already bet on Josh Downs, Olave, and Smith and Jigba, you're betting one of these guys is going to show up. Like one of them, if any of those 3 players are going to go nuclear, these quarterbacks do have to as well. So I actually think this is a great strategy, and this worked out well for them. Shug falling to 126 is really good value. So we'll see what happens for us. But again, we've got a nice range of tight ends that we'll look to pair up with likely. And again, if we wanted to click in Aaron Rodgers, we potentially could, and then look to grab Fryermuth as our final tight end. The other thing it was with the running back here, I believe Algiers somewhere in this range. I'm looking. Did Tyler Algier already go? Looks like he did. All right. I was gonna say I think he's somewhere in this range, so I guess he went off the board and I missed it. He did. All right. He literally just went. All right. So Rogers and Algier both go off. It's kind of a shame. I think I would have liked Algier as my 5th, but it's not the end of the world. We're stacked pretty nicely. I'm gonna pass Bigsby and Kamara and just pick up Dalton Schultz here. I think he's a good week to week upside play. And then I think what I'll do is I no longer care about Fryermuth. AJ Barner is of interest to me, but I think with Dylan Sampson sitting right here, he's probably who I'm going to click in as my 5th running back because later on we're going to be a little less able to do so. So I think Dylan Sampson, if we're going to go 5, is a really nice pairing up with these 4 that we have, and we'll feel pretty good about that. I do like AJ Barner. If we didn't need a running back here, I'd probably click him in, but so now we need one more tight end, one more quarterback, and one more wide receiver. And the quarterback we're going to look for probably will be that Tua situation there way at the end. And again, the reason way at the end is because he doesn't typically go off the board. If we don't get a Tua, then the other thing we can do is look to pull up Matt Jones somewhere in here with the very last pick. or we can also do Tua and Penix. But if we do Tua and Penix, that cuts us off on one of our positional players, and I think I want one more receiver to round out this room. So I don't think we can afford to do that, and we definitely want another tight end as well. So we probably can't get. And I don't think I want Penix. I think if Tua stays healthy, I think he's going to be the starting quarterback all year long. And I actually think Tua can run that offense pretty darn well with the weapons that he has. This Tua experiment in Atlanta actually could pay off for them. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm okay clicking in Tua at the very end. If we don't get Tua, if we get sniped on him, I probably will just click in Mac Jones behind Brock Purdy and say, yeah, we don't have three starters, but we've got San Francisco's quarterback room, and just be okay with that. Again, Purdy's double stacked with Evans and Stribling, so having Mac Jones ensures that double stack stays alive. And it's pretty good. I know I don't love Caleb Williams naked, but he's only like half naked, right? He's wearing DeAndre Swift pants, so that feels pretty good. When it gets back to us again here, we'll be looking here at the 190, 195 range. And again, Tua will go last. I will be looking for a receiver, and I will be looking for a tight end. And that's in this range. Um, there's Darnell Mooney, there's Ted Hurst, there's Pat Bryant. Gesicki is not super who I want. I would probably pull up Stowers over him. I got a lot of Gesicki, and Stowers has, I think, a higher upside. But yeah, we'll look to see who goes. I don't think he will, but I really hope Branch falls back to us. I think that would be sneaky to have Branch with Drake London and then pick up Tua in the last round. I think it'd be pretty good. Fryermuth, I absolutely will snag if he's in this range when it gets to us, and we'll just kind of have to see how this goes. Dontavian Wicks goes, Bernard goes. All right, Branch goes there. That's cool. Um, Malik Washington or Tank Dell are kind of our options. Hopefully, you get one of them. Actually, candidly, I'll probably snap Fryermuth. Oh, there is Fryermuth. I'll probably snap Fryermuth. I have him a cut above, and then worry about what receiver. But that was not to be. So we shall kind of see which one of these guys we get. I'll take either of them. I don't really care. They're the same dude. And then tight end wise, yeah, I guess we'll just shoot our shot on Stowers. Or actually, maybe we just snap off Tua, ensure that we get him here, and then whatever tight end we get at the end, whether it be Stowers or Parkinson, like we don't really care. I really don't care. So, yeah, maybe we just take Tua here. Stick him in behind Purdy and say, hey, you're going to give us some upside weeks with London, or if he doesn't even keep the starting job, it's fine because we still have Caleb Williams and we have Brock Purdy. So feel okay about that. Yeah, actually, really liking the team. Think that it's really well constructed. Note to self: did not take premium tight end in the second, third, or fourth, and I liked my construction better. Maybe that just is the trick. That the price you pay for taking that premium tight end is exactly the fact that you feel behind at either running back or wide receiver. And I don't know. I'm not sure. And then again, at 214, we're going to be in for tight end, and it'll just be Gesicki, Stowers. I have Stowers above. Parkinson, I'd probably have him above Gesicki as well. Mayer's someone I'm weirdly interested in. I think you want Bowers on your team if you're taking Mayer, but Mayer is extremely talented, and there's a world where they're running double tight end sets. I'm not talking, you know, old school Gronk Hernandez days, but I could see it. I could absolutely see it. So we'll go ahead and maybe snap him off if these three guys go. So the team wound up Caleb Williams, Brock Purdy, Tua, quarterback, Jeremiah Love, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard, J.K. Dobbins, Dylan Sampson at running back. I like the running back room, but this is a lot weaker than I typically draft. But for that, we have Jamar Chase, Drake London, Mike Evans as three insane wide receiver options, and that's paired up with a backup in that room of Wandell Robinson, Jalen McMillan, Stribling, and Malik Washington at wide receiver to finish out that room. And then we have Isaiah Likely, Dalton Schultz, and one of these four guys as our tight ends. And I feel pretty good about it. Can this team win the $10,000? Probably not. Maybe. For that to happen, Love will have to absolutely perform at or above his ADP. DeAndre Swift is going to need the best season of his career, or J.K. Dobbins, either one of them. Caleb Williams is going to have to be the truth that everybody's predicting, or Brock Purdy. Chase is going to have to just be of old. Drake London's going to have to be the best he can be, and Mike Evans is going to have a renaissance year. If all those things happen, then yeah, we could win the 10,000. But I think it takes all those things to happen. I think any combination of those things that is short of all of those things, and this team doesn't win all the money. But it'll be interesting to watch over the season. So, all right, as it makes it back to us, Stowers is still on the board, Parkinson's still on the board, Gesicki. I think this is the order of which I will take them. Um, and we'll just go from there. Do we have any bye week considerations? Yeah, these guys are both on bye week 8, but none of these guys are. So that is a-okay with me. How is bye week distributed here? Two of them are on 10, but that's fine. Yeah, no, we're good on bye week. We didn't. I've had some teams that are functionally going to shut down in week 7, or functionally going to shut down in week 11. This is not one of those teams, so it feels pretty good. All right, couple more picks. We'll snap off our tight end, and then we will jump into another one. And again, in this draft, in this lobby, nobody went buck wild. The Allen Jackson player who wound up with Brown and Etienne, or Etienne, however you pronounce it, got Jefferson, Adunze, Pearson, Godwin, threw Rashad White in the mix, picked up Kyle Pitts, got Shakir, stacked with Allen, Jaden Higgins, Pacheco, Sadiq. Yeah, they did pretty good. They did pretty good for how they did it. We're on the clock. Stowers got sniped. We'll click in Jaceki. I don't know. Again, I don't know what Mayer's time looks like. And we do have Chase, so this just gives us another receiving option where Burrow's concerned, and we're okay in ADP. So they did, for taking Allen and Jackson, they did just fine. The running back room's fine. Their wide receiver room is going to be fine. Yeah, they did fine. That is a strategy, and yeah, I think that they pulled it off. Everybody else kind of followed the rules, and I don't see any teams in this lobby that really like stick out and say, hey, they kind of screwed the pooch. And this team here, they just went 4 wide receivers off the rip, then ignored it. Went Henderson, Hurts, Hubbard, Monungai, Mahomes, Kelsey, Rodriguez, Mitchell, Strange, Charbonnet, and then picks up Trey Harris, Tank Dillon, and Ted Hurst. Now that is interesting to me because while they have Nakua, Rice, Smith, and Wilson, they don't have any depth whatsoever. So I guess maybe that is a way to do it, though. These guys are all blue chip. You only need to start 3 of them. One can wind up in your flex, and you're saying, hey, now for this team to win, all these guys are going to stay healthy. We're double stacked with Hurts, and they have Mahomes on this team as well, and we're just going to feel really good about that. And they only did go 2 quarterbacks with Hurts and Mahomes. So the Caleb Williams Purdy drafter, which is me, did opt in for the Tagovailoa ending, and then Brissett and Watson got paired up with Dak Prescott. I think that's a little weak, but they have. They don't have. Is Brissett? Did he get paired up? No, that's weird. That's a little weird. So, all right. Thanks for checking out the vid. Thanks for checking out the draft. Thanks for checking out the channel. If you liked it, please hit the like and subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one.